But first, the House passing the National Defense Authorization Act. The NDAA includes $300 million in new funding for Ukraine. Now, this comes a week after the Biden administration supplied Ukraine with cluster munitions, which we're told could help bring the conflict to a swift end. But is there an end in sight? And joining us now, America First Policy Institute ambassador and Newsmax contributor and retired U.S. Marine Corps Gunnery Sergeant Jessie Jane Duff. And I think he's getting ready. You getting ready? We'll see. All right. First off, we'll get your camera set first. But Jessie Jane, all right, so this massive aid package that's continuing now for Ukraine, what should we expect in this package, and kind of like, is it ever going to end?
Yeah, right. That is a good question. Is it ever going to end? I appreciate that many people are offended and very upset and distressed over the mere fact that Vladimir Putin decided to take such aggressive measures against the Ukraine. However, what we are lacking in finding is European allies pitching in, doing their fair share, and ensuring that they are more engaged in stopping what has happened in the Ukraine. I think many American taxpayers are feeling a fatigue of, why do we always have to rescue others when we know that those that are our European allies are mostly going to be directly impacted by this assault by Vladimir Putin? And what are they doing to ensure? We're not hearing enough about how some of the richest countries in Germany, are they paying their fair share into NATO, because President Trump demanded that they would, and we have yet to hear that they're stepping up to the plate. We hear about American troops, American munitions, American dollars, but what is happening to ensure that peacekeeping negotiations are happening? We hear little or nothing from the State Department on this. We don't know that they are taking proactive measures to stop and cease what has happened that is coming out of the taxpayer dollars. We want to know what the results will be, because that is an excellent question. When will this end?
All right, Diante is all set now, so I want to bring him in. He's the founder and president of the Black Conservative Federation and a political firm LLC senior strategist. So Diante Johnson is, overall, do you think that Americans are going to, I guess, be patient is the right word, with what's going on in Ukraine? Obviously, I think most Americans want Ukraine to win this, but a lot of you Americans are suffering economically here, and money continues to go over there. How long do you think will Americans put up with continuous aid?
Well, they're sick of it. Traveling around the country to places like Chicago, Baltimore, Detroit, Philadelphia, they honestly aren't worried about what's happening in Ukraine, because there's wars in their backyard. The crime rate in these states and cities have skyrocketed. People cannot walk outside of their homes out of fear of being shot. And so while our heart goes out to what's happening in Ukraine, there is a disaster happening here in America, and we need to be taking care of that. We need to take care of what's happening here at home, because it is a catastrophe. Chicago, Detroit, Philly, Atlanta, there is trouble there, and there's trouble home before we're concerned about what's happening abroad.
So, Diante, you know about the Secret Service suspending their investigation right into the bag of cocaine that they discovered in the West Wing of the White House. Do you think that Americans are looking at this like, wait a minute, the Secret Service, the FBI, nobody can figure out whose bag this was? I have to believe that this was a loaded gun without fingerprints, that somehow they'd be able to see whose it was. So, you buying this?
I don't buy it at all. I don't buy it at all. I mean, the United States Secret Service, if they're the top one of the top investigating bodies in our country, you can't find out who had cocaine in the White House. Either someone is trying to cover something up, or we have a very incompetent body that is protecting the president and high-ranking officials in this country, and that's concerning.
Now, you're looking at the schematics of the West Wing there, and I've been in there several times in that Navy mess right next to the Situation Room. I kind of know this a little bit. And I can tell you, not once when I went into the White House in the West Wing did I not feel like everything I was doing was being recorded, or everyone knew exactly what step I was taking anywhere in that building. Jesse Jane, do you think that the Americans are going to be pushing for answers on this, or is this just going to be another one of the, oh, well, they got away with it again? Or someone got away with it. I'm not even going to bring up Hunter Biden. I don't know who it is. I'm not even going to take the Las Vegas odds that it's him. I don't know who it is. But do you think that they're going to get away with this, whoever did it?
Yeah, unfortunately, we have too few answers on many things that have gone on within the Biden administration, let alone their family, looking at the corruption of dollars that have funneled through banks and LLCs to 9 family members within the Biden family. And then now we have cocaine, and we've heard little or nothing coming from the president on this. Yet this was a man, when he stood there as a senator, pushed the 1999 crime bill that aggressively went after Americans that even had, it's a very small amount of crack cocaine, less than the size of a quarter, and it targeted primarily African-American men because of the drug differences of choice of basically white males versus black males. And many, many men suffered by being incarcerated. And if it weren't for Donald Trump, with some of the reforms he did to criminal justice, many of those people would have lost their families indefinitely. But looking at this, you hear him say nothing, yet he was a big proponent of very severe measures against Americans with crack, or I'm sorry, any forms of cocaine. And here now it is right in the White House, and he is not acting outraged, upset, distressed. And like you, I've been to the White House, as most people have to go through the Secret Service screening, where there are dogs that I would be confident are sniffing for any forms of bombs. But I would also assume that they would have detection measures for somebody who's trying to transport drugs into the White House or any form of chemicals. But again, I don't know the dog's specific purpose is. I want to get to the bottom of this, because it's clear they don't want to.
All right, so everyone can play along at home, and I want you to play with us here. Figure out what she's saying, and you can win a prize. Listen to the Vice President's attempt to explain AI. Watch this.
AI is kind of a fancy thing. It's, first of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence. But ultimately what it is it's about machine learning. And so the machine is taught. And part of the issue here is what information is going into the machine.
That's why Biden haters are praying he stays alive. Diante, your reaction to that?
Well, this is kind of similar to that burdened by what has been to what has become. This is what we call not knowing what you're talking about and really trying to figure out how can you get your way through this. She has no idea what AI is. She has not been briefed on it. Her team doesn't know what it is. And what happens is that the Biden administration has not briefed her on it. We see with Kamala Harris is that she's not at the inner circle. She's not in Biden's inner circle. No one is telling her what's going on. And every time we see these gaps, it's because she has no clue on what's going on. They used her to get the black vote. They used her to get the AKA vote. And now she's there window dressing. She does not know what's going on. She has not done anything at the border. And this shows that Kamala Harris is pretty much a lame duck.
Well, Jesse Jane, she's done such an amazing job, I think, at the border, right? I mean, it's totally sealed now. Could you imagine if she were put in charge of AI as well?
I detect a hint of sarcasm there. So yes, Kamala Harris has been a massive disappointment on so many levels. And it's unfortunate for the country. Our country pays the price when we have leaders that are not competent. Ultimately, I do not rejoice in seeing this failed leadership with the Biden administration. It's not a secret that I am an enormous Trump supporter. I was on his campaign. But when it gets down to it, at the end of the day, Americans pay the price for incompetence. And Kamala Harris, when she was in the Senate, she never, in my experience, did these word salad moments. What changed? I remember her in the Senate, questioning in the hearings, having coherent questions and being very aggressive with her questioning. But we have yet to hear that Kamala Harris revive. Was it that she had a stronger staff, or is it that she now has just become completely incompetent with it just is hard to understand how she has diminished herself at such an extraordinary level to be the first woman vice president, first African-American vice president. All of these things that are significant. First, also, Asian American president. Like, all of these things should be huge and rejoiced if she was successful. Instead, she's coming across as somebody that, as Joe Biden said, he wanted a minority female, and that's exactly what he got. He didn't ever once say qualified minority female, because I dare to say there were hundreds out there that could have done a better job than what Kamala Harris has presented.
Could you imagine what her staff must do after she starts talking like that? Like, what did she say?
Her staff is probably part of the problem. That's another
Yeah.
thing. Somehow there's a disconnect in the communication team for Kamala Harris, and it's an embarrassment.
Diante Johnson, Jesse Jane Duff, thanks so much for being with us today.
Good morning. Thank you.
All right.